Fitting mudguards or fenders to your bike will make riding in wintry conditions 1,000 times better. But what do you do if you have a bike with no mudguard or fender mounts or eyelets? Well, this is what you do. You get mudguards which clip onto almost any bike. Thankfully, loads of them exist out there. They can be easily fitted and removed and will work on disc brake bike and a rim brake bike. Let me show you how to fit them. So what are the things you're going to need? Well, you're going to need your mudguards of choice, of course. These are some which I picked up from my local bike shop. They're called race blades, and they're typically what most of the people use, which I go riding with over winter. Thankfully though, nearly all of the different component and accessory brands will make some kind of clip-on mudguard. So what else are we going to need? Well, you're going to need some protective tape because clip-on mudguards are renowned for potentially scratching and scuffing up your frame. So that'll keep your paint looking nice. You're going to need a Sharpie pen to help us align and get everything positioned in the right places. We're also going to need a small hex key or a selection of different hex keys and a hacksaw, just in case we have to cut down the mudguard stays. When it comes to fitting mudguards, a work stand is going to make life a lot easier rather than wrestling with your bike, trying to fall over and whatnot like that. So first thing we need to do, I've already got the mudguards out of the box, is double check that you've got all of the mounting hardware out of the box and you aren't going to leave anything crucial behind. When it comes to the next steps, you need to differentiate between which one is the front and which one is the rear. Simple rule of thumb, the longer mudguard out of the two is typically for the rear of the bike. Now, whilst all of the different mudguards out there will come with fitting instructions, the principles are pretty simple to follow across all the different brands. And the basic rule of thumb that I found from my years of experience is to simply get them on the bike as quickly as you can and then spend your time trying to sort of adjust and finesse them, because it is really kind of like a trial and error thing. Once we've got them on the bike, got some rough positioning on where the rubber mounts are going to go onto the frame, we can then finalize the positions, mark them up with our Sharpie pen with a little dot so we know where to cut our tape. Then we can put our clear protective tape on and away we go, put it all back together for a final check over. It sounds easy when we do it like that, but let's make a start. So what I'm going to do is slide the mudguard over the back wheel first and just rest the mounts on the seat stays. Next thing I'm going to do is take my small hex wrench and loosen off all of the different adjustment points. Just a turn or so, so there's a bit of movement and freedom on both sides. That way we can get the initial positioning as close as we can. Such a faff fit in mudguards, but take your time, do it right first time round, and they should be trouble-free. I'll just put them pretty loose for now, because that way I can still move it if I need to. I've got the mudguard loosely mounted onto the seat stays, the rubber straps are pretty loose, but what this enables me to do is look at all of the different options and positions where I can get the mudguard. Clearly, that's way too high, it looks ridiculous and it's not going to be effective. But also, you've got to take a common sense approach here. The idea of the mudguard is to sit close to the tyre, not touch it, but not only is it positioned to try to provide protection to you and your bike, but also if you're riding in a group, mudguards are really there to also stop the spray going to the rider's behind face. So you need to find a balance between where it is you're going to position it and what you're trying to achieve. Also, it's going to vary on if you're using a bike, say it has drop seat stays on it as well, because that's going to bring your mudguard further round and forwards, offering a bit more protection for you and the bike, but less protection for people behind. Now, I can already see that these are sitting a little bit high, and even though I could probably just look to maybe cut down the stays ever so slightly, the first thing you want to do is see if you can position the mudguard before needing to cut any of the stays down, because 9 times out of 10, I think you can get it about right. So if I lower this down slightly, it means the front's going to sit a little bit better, get the front sitting about as close as I think I can get it, and then I can move the back ever so slightly higher. Because the idea is, if you're careful and you get them about right, mudguards can kind of look kind of cool, if you, in my opinion. You might disagree. But figure out where it is, start to tweak and play around with the setup of it, and then gradually do up some of the hardware and fittings, and then we can tweak and adjust it a little bit more each time, spinning the wheel to make sure that it isn't rubbing anywhere and you've got it as close and sleek looking as you can. So, mudguard in place. I've tweaked it and adjusted it, so we're trying to keep the gap roughly similar most of the way around between the tyre and the mudguard. The space for it to wobble about a little bit. And in my eyes, that looks pretty good. You'll notice here, there is a reasonable gap where you are gonna get a little bit of spray coming through and hitting the seat tube of the bike, but it's not gonna be coming up and getting the back of your legs, nor is it gonna be getting your bum. Plus, later on, I'll talk about a little modification of how you can fix that problem. When you're happy with the position of the mudguard, I know we've only done the rear so far, what I would suggest you do is take a small Sharpie pen or similar, make one tiny little dot as a high point and a low point on the seat stays for where you need to cut your clear or protective tape. I'm saying clear tape because I think it looks a little bit neater and smarter, but you can use any tape you like. That way I can remove the mudguards off, stick the tape on, and then I've got two markers for where to reposition the mudguards so that my hard work of getting it right a minute ago isn't wasted. So do the same for both sides. Time to cut your tape next, which means I've forgotten something very crucial at the start of this video. You're gonna need some scissors. I mean, these ones are from Park Tools, but you don't have to be as fancy as me. Offer up the tape to your markers on your frame, find where the position is, take your scissors and make a cut. It should be pretty straightforward. One for this side. Peel the back end off of our tape. This might be the least sticky protective tape I've ever seen in my entire life. Maybe you want to get some better tape than what I got. Right, rear mudguard on, back in position, and I really can't stress how important it is to get that protective tape over your frame, because if you've got an expensive bike, honestly, take my word for it, a set of mudguards without tape protecting it is gonna rip through the paint in winter. So what I need to do now is move on to getting the front one sorted, and that is simply a case of repeating the process. Get it on the bike, make some tweaks and adjustments to it, and it really is a case of just fettling and fine-tuning that position before locking in those anchorage points and cutting your tape. Let's get to it. Now at this stage, you've got a bike set up with some fresh mudguards, and within reason, you're pretty much ready to go. Eagle-eyed viewers amongst you will say, well, Alex, you're not ready to go yet. Your bike hasn't got any pedals on it. But yes, I'm very aware of that. However, two things I want to point out really are this gap at the front here by the mudguard and between the fork, because it's not possible to fit a mudguard in between the forks, certainly not on most modern race bikes. There's just not the space for it. And then if you look at the back here, we've got pretty much the same principle as well. We've got this gap and section where there's still exposed tyre, which is going to allow spray to come up and get the bike and you ever so slightly. But if you want to take winter riding seriously, you do have an option to modify your mudguards ever so slightly, which is something that I am going to do because I've already pre-drilled these mudguards the other day to allow me to add a little bit of an extra mud flap onto the guards. That way it's going to protect my bike a little bit more, and also if I can position it just right, it will stop all the rubbish and spray going up into that lower headset bearing. So let's see if we can make them better. So it's at this moment, it's going to turn into a little bit like GCNTech / Blue Peter, if you remember that program, where I've got some work that I prepared earlier. So this is a GCN R-Saver, which is great at trying to keep your bum dry, but also really good at doubling up, being able to cut out sections of it to make your own little additional mud flaps, which is what I've done before. So here, I've got a section that I've cut out and I can add into my mudguard here to help protect the back section of my bike. And also I made a really small one where I've got the GCN logo, so I can position it and zip tie it into place here. That is the reason why I've drilled those 2 little holes there, because I can either zip tie it in place, or if I wanted to get super nerdy, I could spend my time riveting it in place. But I'm not gonna do that because I haven't got the patience just yet. Let's get these in place and I'll show you the finished article. Okay, that's the mudguards fitted onto my bike. You can see I've got some small little modifications made to them, but like all things in life, they're probably going to be a work in progress, and I'm going to evolve them as I ride and want to tweak it a little bit more. Now, if you are someone that is kind of going to dive into the aspect of fitting mudguards to your bike, trust me, it is going to be a bit of trial and error, and eventually you will find yourself homing in on the sort of setup that you prefer and really suits your riding style. Don't forget that fitting mudguards onto a bike like this that's not specifically designed to them is always going to be a little bit of a pain, but I think it's worth it to make riding in wintertime so much better. Right, let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on it, and don't forget, subscribe to GCNTech for more things bike tech related. See you later.